The Cleveland Guardians offense was not to blame for their ugly loss to the Toronto Blue Jays on Tuesday night, but that is not going to stop us from getting into everybody's favorite top prospect, why he's not in the lineup, and what it's going to take to change that.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into a raging Wednesday episode of Locked On Guardians. It's always raging Wednesday.
It's raging every day.
It's raging every day here in Guardians land. This is, of course, Locked On Guardians. Despite any frustrations, win or lose, it is still our favorite half hour of the day. We hope it's your favorite half hour of the day, too, because it's a chance for us to talk with you about your Cleveland Guardians, proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We cover your team every day. Shout out to all of our everydayers who are here with us no matter what. Win or lose, frustrating call-ups or non-frustrating call-ups. I'm, of course, Justin Lada. I have been covering the Cleveland Guardians minor league system since 2007, writing prospect analysis and talking about the call-ups of prospects for many, many years. And I do it here 5 days a week with my friend and co-host, who is always my top prospect, Jeff Ellis.
Thanks for having me here. Long time no see, as it were.
Yeah, it's been a while.
As he said, I'm Jeff Ellis, one of your two co-hosts here. Been here since the inception of this. Before this, this is my 16th year writing on the MLB draft. First player I correctly predicted to Cleveland was Clint Frazier back in the day. Started doing this around the Alex White era, I think was my first mock draft. So 16 years writing about the draft and prospects. Also was one of the first people brought on to talk about baseball in general, and I've become the network's draft guy, which I guess makes sense in the grand scheme. I think this will be a fun one. I first want to say thank you to all of our everydayers for joining us, even after a weird game like this one, let's be honest, as well as...
weird is a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, as well as just saying, thank you for making today's episode your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get podcasts.
Absolutely. And on today's show, we will get into the Guardians and the keeping up with the Joneses when it comes to calling up prospects and draft picks. We'll get into that debate with Jeff. We did a little bit of it yesterday with Chico. We'll have a more extended segment today with Jeff. We'll talk about the Guardians' sloppy play in their loss to the Blue Jays, of course. But we're going to start off today with everyone's favorite topic right now. It's Chase DeLauter. We're on Chase DeLauter watch. We're trying to figure out when he's going to come up and what it's going to take for him to get in this lineup. So we'll kind of lay out a roadmap, as it were, to when this is going to happen and what's going to happen and all the things to look for and what not to look for. Before we get there, Jeff, we got to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On Guardians is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. You're going to use our code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com, and you're going to get 50% off your first year. You're not going to miss 50% of the year like Chase DeLauter often does. And he is currently healthy right now, which is great. And he is hitting the crap out of the ball. Tripled on Tuesday night. He had a single that was like a 20-foot worm killer on the infield out in Iowa that he ran out. I mean, he legged out an infield single and he legged out a triple, and he stayed healthy. So that's all great news, right? Anytime Chase DeLauter has to use his legs very demandingly, and he turns out to be healthy, then we're all happy with that. But everybody wants it to be happening in Cleveland, Jeff, right now. They want it to happen right now. They want it to happen yesterday. They want it to happen 2 weeks ago. And anybody who's listened, maybe our everydayers are going to get sick of me repeating this. And I know everyone's going to get sick of us repeating it because I've said it multiple times and it doesn't change how people feel. And that's fine. But I think you and I do believe, I think we're pretty sure on this. The reality of why Chase DeLauter is not up here is, one, his injuries. He would have made his debut, I think, a year ago if he had been healthy all year.
Yes.
Let's be honest about that.
They don't make the Lane Thomas deal if he's not healthy. They have to make that trade because of his health. I'll stand by that. He would have come up late last season as opposed to calling up Lane Thomas if he had not missed as much time as he missed again.
Maybe.
I said it at the time, and I'll stand by it.
Yeah, I still think you could have had Lane Thomas and Chase DeLauter. Lane Thomas did it a home run in this one. Dear God, he needs to get it going. So maybe that's
he's got a 700. He's got an OPS over 700 in the last 15 games. That's better than Jose. He's starting to get it going.
We'll talk about that in the second segment. But aside from the past injuries, which are affecting the current status of Chase DeLauter, the main reason I keep saying this that he's not up is that Cleveland is building up his volume.
Yeah.
And I know that's frustrating people to say. It's like, we'll do it at the major league level. And you can do that at the major league level. You can build the volume up at the major league level if you want. I'm not necessarily opposed to that. But the reason they're doing it at AAA has nothing to do with the fact that he's not ready. Because I think all indicators statistically and the underlying metrics all look fine. The real issue is they only want him playing 3 or 4 days a week, 4 days a week, really, and then up to 5, maybe. And they want to make sure he's doing that. And if he's at the major league level, they're going to have to sit him. And Jeff's going to talk about ways to do this, which is what we're trying to make a case for today. But the pressure is going to be to play him more at the major league level. So when he gets up there, you're not having to sit him as much. Whereas in AAA, if you need to be careful about building him up and having him play 3 days, I don't think he's even played 4 days in a row at this point. And when you get him up to Cleveland, you want him to be able to be available to do that. And you want to say, okay, go out here 4 or 5 days, play, and let's not think twice about it. We'll get you the off days when we have to. But at the minor league level at AAA, you can say, okay, here's 3 days. You're taking a day off. We'll come back, do another game, and you have every Monday off in the minor leagues. They don't care about that down there because they're not trying to win necessarily in the minor league level. They're trying to do what's best for Chase DeLauter, and that's what's best for Chase DeLauter in their eyes right now. Whereas when he gets to the major league level, you want to be able to put him in the lineup every day or for the most days, let him go and be done with it and not think about it twice. And that does take some buildup. Now, the question is whether you can do that at the major league level, and it is a little more challenging because then you have to shortchange part of your roster to do that, and it may not be advantageous to do that at the major league level because the guy does need to play. So there is a catch-22 to all this.
There is, and I know people aren't going to love to hear it too, but let's be very honest. Like the 2 big concerns about Chase DeLauter his entire minor league career has been, one, health, because availability has been an issue dating back to college. I think the most games he's ever played in a league in one setting was the Cape Cod before his junior year. I think that's
Jeff. He's got 126 minor league games in his entire career.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the Cape Cod.
Some of that includes Arizona, like rehab.
That's what I'm saying. That Cape Cod run, where at the end of that, there was some talk of him being the first overall player in that draft class, is the most he has ever put together and played, and that was 3 years ago. He has not approached that since. That's a big deal. And number 2, his swing is a little bit cheaty. Like there are questions, but I think he's showing a little bit better this year. But like AAA isn't the same. Where due to this team loves unicorns, right? It's an unusual swing, and there's questions about handling velocity, and there's questions about how he'll hit lefties. So that sets up for me a very easy situation where I know everyone's so tired of platoons, and I agree. Like I was honestly, I'm gonna save it for Friday, but I'll say that there's a former Guardians outfielder who they should go out and trade for, because Noel and Rodriguez don't work. If you're gonna do a platoon, get someone who actually has had some success recently in that role. Look forward to that in Friday's episode. I'll talk some trade stuff then. But with Chase, the natural way, and people hate platoons, but here's the truth of them. There's a reason why Jim Thome platooned when he came up. Like it is a way, he platooned for years. It is a way for players to be successful and to find success and work their way into it. It's not to say that a guy has to stay there forever. And there are a lot of players who, like, I didn't think Josh Naylor would ever hit lefties, and then he did, and then he stopped. He hasn't now for 2 years. It's weird. You can't always, it's not consistent, but to come up, and it is a way to naturally have him play the correct number of games and build up that health. I thought the guy could be a center fielder. He's never going to get that opportunity again because of health. So you're just going to have him play.
You can't risk that.
No, you can't risk it. So you're going to have him play right field. And the other downside to all of this, honestly, though, is right now, right field isn't their big problem. It was, a month ago. That it was a few weeks ago. Like, is Nolan Jones lighting the world on fire? No. But is that the biggest death spot on this team? It's not. So you're still going to find a way to get Jones some at-bats, and you're going to find ways for DeLauter. But I think it is, we are looking at chase time. And because Jones is playing well, and hopefully you can find the right caddy, you can find ways to maximize his play without leading to inevitable injury by overriding him.
We'll continue to talk about the plan for Chase DeLauter when we think it's going to happen. We will talk about the disaster that was in right field on Tuesday in Cleveland, and we'll get into more top prospect call-ups and keeping up with the Joneses on the rest of today's Locked On Guardians.
But first, our good friends over at Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, you can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch Money puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is a budgeting app. It's more than just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. You don't have to go to 17 different apps. One stop, they got you covered. So in addition to managing money, we're also building wealth. I am a parent. Any parent out there knows how easy it is to spend. You got camps. You're getting little things here and there for them. You can tell I am not recording from home. Travel, it all mounts up. It is so easy to lose track of your spending, and that's where Monarch Money is perfect, because all of your credit cards, one space, you will spend and know what you are spending and how to properly manage your money. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Guardians your first listen to every day. Wherever it is you get podcast, if you like what you're hearing, make sure you are auto-downloading on all of your audio platforms so you never miss an episode. Make sure you are hitting the bell on YouTube so you get reaction videos to games, news, like prospect call-ups maybe, and also the MLB Squad Show, which comes out once a week, where we have a lot of fun riffing on the state of the game and other top storylines. So all that's good stuff coming your way here on the Locked On Guardians feed. Don't miss an episode. I wish we'll get into Lauder a little bit more here in this segment, in the final segment too. But I wish I missed some of this game on Tuesday. I don't often say I wish I missed certain games, especially for the Guardians, because I do plan my nights around 6:40 or 7:05 or whatever time they're starting the game these days, because it's always changing. I never understand it, but I do plan my day around that start time, because that's what I'm usually doing at night. My wife and I are watching every single game. But my God, I know she turned it off for Love Island at the end of the show, at the end of that one, and that was just painful. I can't watch Jonathan Rodriguez. This is the ultimate case. If you haven't figured out by now that AAA is not the major leagues, I think most people are getting that. But I know you've said, well, he's been better offensively than John Kenson-Noel. You're not wrong. John Kenson-Noel is hitting the living daylights out of the ball down in AAA. Again, bigger case, And then some people are like, oh, well, he's playing every day. No, he's not. Yes, he's playing every day, but he's getting garbage pitching to hit, and he's crushing it. Every major league pitcher knows they don't got to throw John Kenson-Noel a strike, and he will chase. Jonathan Rodriguez, I really don't know what he adds. Like, he's a terrible defender. He doesn't have any athleticism. He's got a great arm.
I don't know how he didn't run out. Like, they give,
Yeah, Tom Hamilton thought he had a hit. Tom Hamilton thought he had a hit.
So much credit for that.
He's got picked up the middle, and he was still out. Yeah, and the outfield play was disastrous. I mean, just not being able to get to fly balls, not picking up fly balls,
misread
a mess. Yeah, and to be fair, Jonathan Rodriguez did not cost his team the game on Tuesday. No. It was the pitching, and it was the defense. I mean, his defense did lead to some ugly plays and some additional runs. But Logan Allen was giving up traffic every inning. He was not good. Obviously, Hunter Gaddis has been having a bad month this month.
He's lost his command.
He has, and in a way, he never did at the minors. In the minors, his control was always pretty good, and he did have a 5% walk rate a year ago, and it's been 10% this year. So, probably tells me that the truth is somewhere in the middle. Maybe it's a 7% walk rate, which you can live with for a guy like Hunter Gaddis. That's fine. Jeff, I think besides we'll get into prospects a little bit more, but I think besides the grand slam Hunter Gaddis gave up, obviously, put the lid on the game for Cleveland when they were coming back. But did it feel like to you that maybe this game was A, lost by defense, and B, leaving Kolby Allard in the game when they did? Because it was 4-1 when Kolby Allard came in, right? They brought Fest in.
Yeah.
He got the one out to bail out Logan Allen at that last inning. And they brought Kolby Allard in, and it kind of felt like, okay, well, this is the white flag for the game, because we're going to try to play for Wednesday and Thursday by letting Allard eat some innings. And then they scored 3 runs on the Lane Thomas home run. So it's, now we have to go to Hunter Gaddis to try to keep this close and try to win this game. And maybe he would have always given up the grand slam. Maybe it wouldn't have mattered. But I don't know, would things have been a little bit different if he didn't go to Kolby Allard there? I know he's been fine this year in the mop-up role, but it's been a lot of smoke and mirrors, let's be honest. So it kind of felt like the turning point of the game was there, where it was like, all right, Kobe Allard's the mop-up guy, and this is the white flag. And it was 4-1.
And it was weird, too, because you already had Festa out there. They go out and bring in Kobe Allard. And I'm trying to remember who they hadn't faced Ernie Clement. Ernie Clement, who's a lefty killer. Like, it was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Like, why you leave out Festa for and I mean, he took care of Clement.
Right. And he only let Festa throw 3 pitches, essentially saying we can save Festa for tomorrow now, too, which we
don't want to see him 3 days in a row. We already had that discussion, but with Allard, it's okay. Like, Logan Allen has been a player that people get mad at us for not giving enough credit every day, or Dave Wendell, for instance. But here's the problem with Logan Allen. You look at his metrics, and all he does is not get hit hard. Like, he can't maintain his level of success unless he brings down the walk rate. Like, lefties like him can be successful, but the problem is his walk rate isn't good either. So it's just he doesn't get hit hard. And this game, he would have had like a whip over 2. Like, he just has too many guys on the base pass. He's hittable, but a lot of times it's about, being, they don't hit it hard. So when they make contact, it's bad contact and you get outs. And that's not to say he can't be a 5th starter that way, but he's got to bring that walk rate down.
Walks were not the problem for him on Tuesday, by the way. It was just the Blue Jays just hit everything in sight on him.
Yeah, they did hit everything in sight, but he's always going to be a guy who. But I feel like, wasn't it the walks led directly to runs again?
Well, he was behind in the count sometimes too. Yes, the walks did lead to runs. He just was not. They were just hitting everything through.
Gaddis, I don't know. I don't know if they overworked him or what's going on. He had a rough stretch a year ago, but it was only a few games. But right now, he can't control it, and it's like his walk rate is way up and his strikeout rate is way down, and that was an issue. And the offense kept battling. Like, say what you want to say about this team and people wanting to pitch in or the quit mentality. They kept coming back in every position, reach base in this one except for third base. Jose, they're doing this with Jose in about a 3-week slump now. Like, he has been in a pretty big slump recently. He's had a sub 700 OPS.
Okay, I was gonna say the Seattle series is where he kind of started to.
Yeah, so that's about.
But he also had one good game in Sacramento, so yeah. The other thing too, I was gonna say, like Stephen Vogt said, they played flat. They didn't look like themselves. The offense was fine. The offense scored 6 runs. They had 3 home runs. That should be a recipe for this team to win any day of the week. And you're gonna have hiccups with the bullpen. Like we've said this all year. They're gonna be good but not great. And Hunter Gaddis is going through a rough stretch. I'm not hitting the panic button on Hunter Gaddis, by the way. It's not good right now. He's got to fix some things. He might be worn down a little bit maybe, but he's not throwing enough strikes, and the command's not great. That was a terribly located fastball to George Springer. Yes. But it's just weird that, like Vogt said, that he felt like the team didn't play like themselves. He said they looked sluggish, like they'd just come off a West Coast road trip. And I get that. They had Monday off. Like, that's the way they had Monday off to recover. And the offense didn't show any signs of sluggish. Like, Quan had 2 hits. Lane Thomas had his best game as a Guardian that wasn't in October. Carlos Santana had 2 hits, including a home run. Arnold Martinez stung a ball.
And I got to throw in this note from the Blue Jays. They also just weren't sharp in how they executed or the game plan, because I was saying there, the Blue Jays announcers were mystified because Clase, the outfielder, can't hit velocity, can't hit fastballs. All he can do is hit spin. And they were talking about all he does is hit spin. His last 2 pitches he faced before he had that, were the bases loaded? Either way, he scored 2 runs. And they were both change up. Like, for whatever reason, they went. And Allard's changeup this year hasn't graded well. It's his fastball that's been his best graded pitch. So instead of going to his best graded pitch this year, which is the pitch that Clase struggles with as a hitter, they went and gave him an easier road. Like, it just didn't make much sense. Like, there's things like that where I wonder about the planning.
Yeah, the execution overall was really weird. The defense was bad, and they hit everything Logan Allen had. Like, so maybe that went down to planning. Maybe it wasn't necessarily Allen; it was more the game plan. And the bullpen usage was strange. I mean, Gaddis, and if Gaddis is going to give up a home run or a grand slam like that, you're not going to win many games, because this team can't win when one of the big 3 or big 4, if you want to include Heron, gives up a grand slam or any kind of home run, really. So, but again, I didn't think they were that sluggish offensively. They did the things they needed to do. And honestly, they could have scored more runs, Jeff. They had opportunities in other innings. It's just, they also gave up a free out. Like you mentioned that, like, Angel Martinez bunted in front of Austin Hedges and Jonathan Rodriguez, which That wasn't.
Why?
Like I said, that wasn't coming from the dugout. By the way, that was all Angel Martinez on his own. I don't understand that one.
And David
But
Fry,
they could have had more runs.
Yeah, is a story for another day. But like putting him where they're putting him is a general hurt to the lineup in general.
Yeah, they're not doing him any favors, not doing themselves any favors. All right, we will continue to talk about the offense. Even though the offense was not the problem on Tuesday, we will talk about how to fix it. We'll continue to talk about the plan for Chase DeLauter, and we will, of course, talk about keeping up with the Joneses and everybody's obsession with last year's draft. Coming up next on today's Locked On Guardians. We all want more meaningful relationships, whether it's your baseball team or it's your significant other. I know we've all heard of things like Viagra, Cialis. Maybe you've tried those things, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual, it is time to meet Rougiette Ready. This is a next-generation prescription treatment. It's designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost your blood flow. Unlike the usual pills we mentioned, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue. It kicks in fast, on average, in 15 minutes, and those effects can last up to 36 hours. So you can stay confident, in control when the moment is right. So there's no leaving the bases loaded with Rougiette Ready. You are always hitting a grand slam when the time is right. You can even read custom reviews, and they're going to ship everything to you discreetly. Again, we want to have more meaningful relationships and capitalize when the time is right. Rougiette Ready is going to help us all do that. Head to rougiette.com/LockedOnMLB. Use code LockedOnMLB to get 50% off today. That is RUGIET.com/LockedOnMLB, and use our promo code LockedOnMLB for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing review. Please visit Rougiette website for full safety information. All right, Jeff, real quick. Chase DeLauter in the lineup on Wednesday, yes or no? Just going to throw that out there for our third segment. Jeff says no. He's on mute, so he says no. Jeff is saying it'll be a silent
I'm saying
day.
no. I'm saying he's not going to be in there, but I'm saying that, it should be coming. I don't know. Or, you know what? Nolan Jones, we talked about it. He doesn't have the worst splits against lefties. Maybe you just say goodbye to Rodriguez and you risk, you let those two work it out and split the position because, again, not for any other reason than Chase's health.
Yeah, anywhere beyond Chase's health. I'll say, I don't know. I'm a little bit closer to saying yes than I would have been a couple of days ago. I don't know. It goes because I've been saying, I think July is the time. And July, to be honest with you, Jeff, July is a week away. We're sitting here on June 24th. July is a week away. So does a week make a difference? I don't know. I think if they're going to call him up this week, he would have not gone to Iowa because he was in Iowa Tuesday and he played. So I think it's probably not likely. Maybe it'll be the weekend. Maybe when the Cardinals come to town, he'll do it. But I think we're getting close. I think we're a week out. I don't know what a difference a week makes. But again, like we said in the top of the show today, it really comes down to the buildup for him. And I understand people are like, well, we need help now, and he's ready, and Jonathan Rodriguez stinks. And if you want to play Nolan and Lane in center, that's fine, whatever. You can make these things work, by the way, Jeff. You're talking about like platoons, and I understand like you want to trade for an ex-Cleveland outfielder. That's all fine and dandy. But like you can do Lane Thomas and Nolan Jones in right field or center field. You could do Angel Martinez and Daniel Schneemann. Like you can move these pieces around, right? Or you could call up Juan Brito. You can send Jonathan Rodriguez down for Juan Brito. Juan Brito is on a plane as you and I are recording this to Iowa. It probably should be a plane to Cleveland. I would rather see Juan Brito is not a good defender. Let me tell you, Juan Brito is not going to remind any. Juan Brito is more likely to remind you of post 95 Carlos Baerga at any position, right? And that's not a knock on his like conditioning. That's just what he is.
I mean, he had terrible conditioning. Baerga,
right.
not Brito.
No, Brito, not Brito. I'm saying not Brito's conditioning. But if he's as bad as Jonathan Rodriguez defensively, I don't care because I believe in Juan Brito's bat way more than I believe in Jonathan Rodriguez's bat. And maybe I'll be wrong because I've been saying if you call these prospects up, look, they're probably going to struggle. And I think for the most part, everybody would understand that and would say, well, at least they're here. At least they're trying. You know what I mean? They're trying. Rodriguez can't be on this team. I don't know how you accommodate Brito and DeLauter, but I would find a way to do it. Maybe you send Fry down. Maybe you send Fry and Rodriguez down because Brito is a switch hitter and Angel's a switch hitter and Lane's better against righties or lefties. You know, he had a home run off a righty on Tuesday. You can make these things work if you really love platoons and you want to get natural days off for DeLauter. And Jones is not unplayable against lefties because he works walks and whatever. You could do all those things. It really is the buildup. I understand people want this to happen at the major league level. And I don't know what difference a week makes. Like, you know, you were mentioning off air that like, hey, Andrew Walters didn't pitch back-to-back days in the minors. And he came up and did it immediately at the major league level. So maybe Chase DeLauter can play his first time this year playing 4 days in a row at the major league level. Maybe that's what they're waiting for. Maybe, you know, and you don't want to play him every day. So you do find the natural days off to give him against lefties. But you also can't make knee-jerk reactions to what everybody else is doing. You can't just be like, yes, there's a need. And my God, I'd rather see Trevor Crow than Jonathan Rodriguez.
No.
Thomas Neal, Jared Head, Ryan Gillespie. Am I getting warmer or colder?
Colder.
What? It wasn't Trevor Crow and Gillespie. You said I got colder.
It doesn't.
Laporta. I'd rather see Laporta than Jonathan Rodriguez.
I don't want to be mean, but I'm going to be mean. It doesn't matter when you're comparing different piles of crap. It's still piles of crap. So it doesn't really matter the levels you put them on. If it's bad, it's bad. Like, you know, these are human beings. I shouldn't say piles of crap. If you're comparing
they're not bad people. They're just
versus a quad A player, it doesn't matter. They're all quad A guys, so that's not helping your team. That's why you either have to go with someone internally or, you know, figure out ways to improve on the fringes. Especially when you are a small market team, you always have to find ways to improve on the fringes. They give Rodriguez a chance. You know, I was like, give him a run, see what can get done. It's not much, and he can't run at all. Like, there's not a lot of guys I feel like I could beat on this team in a foot race. I feel like I could beat him. And that is a really bad sign because I was a sprinter. I was never a distance guy back when I was a track and field person, but I was never a good sprinter. Let's put it that way. Nor was I actually ever on a track team, but this is just going back to my own personal experience. But yeah, it's not working. And when you are a contending team, the unfortunate truth is you can't give extended windows. And this is a team that's still fighting for a wild card. And this is a team that has spent the last 10 years competing, which means they can't give guys like Jonathan Rodriguez chances. And I mean, sometimes what happens is you miss out on an Henry Clement who would be perfect for this team right now, who bounced around before figuring out and finding the ideal role for him. But when you are a good team, you can't give guys like that extended looks. And maybe Rodriguez does go somewhere and some of it translates. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could.
I don't buy it. I
don't either, but I also didn't think Ernie Clement was ever going to be a big leaguer either.
Yeah, but there's different skill sets. There's different underlying metrics
100%. But I'm just saying, when you are a team that has been this good for this long
and has contact, and Rodriguez doesn't have those backgrounds.
No, I know, but like you can't give that extended run. You just can't. You have to find ways to improve your team in the fringes.
And you also can't make knee-jerk call-ups because this is not how everybody wants to win right now, and I get it. I want to win right now too. We all do. It's more fun to talk about a team that wins 10-6 than loses 10-6 when they're barely skating 500. But you also don't make knee-jerk reactions to, well, Jack Caglione is up and Chase Burns is up and Nick Kurtz is up. That doesn't mean that Travis Bazzana is a bust. I talked about this yesterday with Chico. You weren't on, so I wanted to give you a chance to talk about it. And we didn't really spend a lot of time on it yesterday that I wanted to, and we're not going to be able to today because of everything else. But guys, Travis Bazzana is not a bust, and this pick wasn't wrong because other guys are up. I think part of the choice for Bazzana last year was we did think that he'd be closer to a finished product and he could help you sooner rather than later. If he was healthy, I don't think he would be up right now. Maybe that's people are going to say is part of the problem, but he still would have had a chance to be up this year. The injury took him out of that. This is a guy with no injury history before this year. You couldn't predict that, okay? But just because other teams are calling up top prospects doesn't mean the Guardians missed. It's not all prospects aren't comparable, okay?
No. And you look at everyone who's been called up. Let's just put it out there. Like Moore is struggling. Jack is struggling. Chase Burns had a great outing. Nick Kurtz, if you look at his data, he's got a 27 WRC plus versus lefties. and he's got a 68 on the road. He's hitting a 210 at the minor league park there, and he's only hitting at home against right-handed pitchers. I think he's going to be a good hitter, but it takes adjustments. If you remember Travis Bazzana's data bits in AA this year, he was killing righties, struggling against lefties. That's what Nick Kurtz is doing. That's very common. Like, this is what we see with young hitters. We didn't think
that's all they're going to be. It doesn't mean what they're going to be final form.
100%. And I went back and looked at the 2023 draft, and looking at that draft, it's like, who's called up the most guys? It's the Angels and the Rockies. Those are not the organizations you want to be following.
Yeah, you really want to be with them.
We all get very focused. Like, honestly, if you want to tell, if I want to make a hot take here, it's like a few years ago, I said, like, hey, if you redid the 2021 draft, and I said this about a year later, Gavin Williams would be in the top 10. That was not because I didn't have enough data then. And honestly, hot take here, I think the pick this team most likely blew was their second rounder, not their first rounder. Like, that's the one that, if you wanted me to go through and say I have my biggest concerns a year data later, and that's because, and here's the other thing, for everyone who wants to be the amateur person at this, it's like, who are the big risers in round 2? Do you know that? Do you know it's Ryan Sloan? Do you know it's Kyle Steffen? Do you know it's Gage Jump? If you do, great, then you're following along and you have a more in-depth take on it. But everyone wants to knee-jerk just because the guy's in the big leagues. A guy being in the big leagues doesn't guarantee success. There's a lot of guys who get moved up quickly who stall out. Joe Adell moved relatively quickly for a high school kid, and he's still not established himself. That's why I will never really sit down and grade a draft and say it's good or bad until 5 years after. You need to see what guys can do, because honestly, we've seen it this year. Like AAA, it's whose line is it anyway? The numbers don't matter. That level is a joke because of what that stadium does and the performance. You can't judge anything based on counting numbers. So you have to look at how they're playing. That's why we dig into the nitty gritty and see that, like, DeLauter's not missing in the zone and he's not chasing and things like that, because everyone's going to look like an all-star down there. Will Wilson looks like Mike Trout.
Yes, Will Wilson's going to be a AAA all-star. He is.
He is. So it's like, you have to look around the things. I am not concerned about the draft yet. I mean, maybe they get it wrong. Not saying that's impossible, but right now, anyone who wants
pitching was risky for them. But yeah, it's too soon.
Anyone jumping to a conclusion now is a bit foolish. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it may or may not work. We're not sitting here saying it's going to work. Like, there are things that aren't going great. Joe Yoki doesn't look great, right? There are guys they drafted last year that are not looking fantastic so far. But that doesn't mean it's completely ruined. And I'm not really looking at the day 3 guys, honestly.
I mean, honestly, like,
1 and 2.
The worst pick in the 3rd round, though, belongs to the Oakland Athletics with Rodney Green. Go look up those numbers, who they have a huge bonus to. But at the same time, then the Athletics turned around and got Gage Jump in round 2, which was one of the better picks in the draft. So it is, and
you're never going to hit 100%.
Yes, it's about finding nice picks throughout.
Yes, and everybody wants to remember too. This is like, you got to do what's best, like, for the number one for your prospects. You want to get the best out of them, and that means not knee jerking and jumping to conclusions or keeping up with the Joneses. Like, you've got to do what's best for your prospects. And we all want Travis Bazzana to help Jose Ramirez win a World Series tomorrow. But you know what? That's not going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen what's going to happen. And he's hurt. He can't help it. He can't help anybody while he's hurt. And oblique injuries absolutely suck. All right. What doesn't suck is all of you being here with us. We love you no matter what happens, no matter if Chase DeLauter is in the lineup in Cleveland or if he's in Iowa. My bold prediction is he'll be in the lineup against the Cardinals this weekend, but we'll be back with you tomorrow. That is not a bold prediction. Blue Jays Guardians game 2. We'll go a little bit deeper around the minors. Thanks for coming back, Jeff, and thank you all for listening.
Yep. Thank you all. I couldn't wait to be back, so it went a little long, so I appreciate it. Each and every one of you. Thank you all, and go Guardians, go.